I always say we got to support the Black Star Network now more than ever. Um, I think about my friends who would consider themselves radicals, who would accuse me of being a sellout for coming down here and being with y'all all the time.
Right. Now, that was a problematic statement for me. First of all, I'm not saying that he was referring to me at that point in time. Yeah. I wouldn't consider myself a friend of Dr. Carr. Um, he follows me on Twitter and has been, but I don't know if he really has a concept of who I am. Yeah. So I don't know if that comment was inspired by the exchange, not conversation that we had. Okay. I have no idea. Yeah. What I will say is that I have never heard anybody refer to Mwalimu Carr as a sellout. Yeah, I have not heard this. Yeah, and certainly I have not heard them calling him a sellout for sitting on Roland Martin and discussing politics. I've not heard this. I'm not saying it's not done. I am saying when he says radicals call him a sellout, yeah, I know a lot of radicals, and I know a lot of radicals who know Greg Carr, and I know a lot of radicals who know Greg Carr and are critical of his presence and his rhetoric on Roland Martin show specifically. None of them have called him a sellout. Okay, none of them. Yeah, I have not heard this. So I'm relatively well connected as far as Pan-African Black radical discourse, and relatively well in the circles, yeah, digitally, in which such discourse takes place. I've never heard it, so I'm not saying that it's never happened, but I am saying that it's not a pervasive discourse. So I'm not sure what he's referring to here. And certainly, and if anybody calls him a sellout, him being on Roland Martin is not going to be the reason why they call him a sellout. I'm relatively sure of this. Yeah. Even if they're critical of him and his presence on Roland Martin. So let's continue.
By the way, I think you all should follow Monique's advice and get all your health care and get all your benefits together, because now you get a chance to put your theory, all that Marx you've been reading, into practice.
So this is another problematic statement. Again, I don't know if this part of what this discourse was inspired by the exchange that we had. He may have had other exchanges whilst he was on this show of people that were critical of him. I don't know, right? In our exchange, he identified me correctly as a Black nationalist, as an African nationalist, which I am. I openly declare that. But then here he refers to Marx, yeah. And the reason why I have a problem with that is that it's a regular trope among the Western elite to ascribe any anti-imperialism coming from African people as Marxism, and somehow sponsored by some Western Marxist entity. Okay. And I have a problem with that caricature and the fact that that caricature was regurgitated here. All right. I have a problem with that. It also, however, belittles the critique somewhat. Yeah. It does this very, all that Marx you've been reading, as though the African liberation movement and the Black radical tradition as it relates to the United States of America really does yeah, it doesn't do justice to the work, intellectual and otherwise, that our brothers and sisters have been engaged in. And it suggests that the only real way to be politically active and consequential in a material sense is to engage the electoral system. Anybody who doesn't engage the electoral system is thereby just engaging in random pontification based upon a reading of Marx. Okay? And we're not saying here that Africans don't read Marx. Africans do read Marx, right? But I'm saying that there's a caricature that what our brother has just said kind of falls into. And I think he would know that. As well learned as he is, I think he would know that. And I think that that statement plays to the liberal base who wants to justify their slavist allegiance to the Democratic Party and any candidate that it puts up. Yes. Because they're all engaging this at the moment. They're all giving us good, nice excuses as to why they can't create and or vote for a third party and challenge the duopoly. They're all engaging in that at the moment, right? The Democratic Party is the only viable choice, and there are any number of myriad of sexy excuses to justify that point. Yeah, and so that this statement here kind of plays to that. You know, we're here fighting the real fight, whilst Uno just I read Marx. Right? Yeah, it's that kind of energy, that kind of vibration, and I think that's a problematic thing to do. Okay, let's finish this.
I often say this isn't a nation. It's a country with a lot of nations in it. And Charlene, thank you for laying it out, because at the beginning of this criminal enterprise, they set it up for failure.
Now, you know that I've always referred to the United States of America as a criminal settler colony and a criminal enterprise. So we have no disagreement with Dr. Greg Carr on this point. The only critique that I was having yesterday was the fact that the recognition of America as a criminal enterprise is also apparent in American foreign policy on Gaza, right? So I find it now at this point they're making closing statements and they're mourning the fact. Everybody in the studio is mourning the fact that Kamala Harris appears to have just lost this election. So what my question therefore would be, how can we see America as a criminal enterprise? Yes, as a criminal enterprise in relation to the fact that they met Trump win the election. Yeah, but we cannot see Kamala as seeking to bolster America as a criminal enterprise in her position on Israel and Gaza. Yeah, that would be my question. If we recognize that America was, is, and will remain a criminal enterprise, would it be any less a criminal enterprise if the country elected Kamala Harris? And would Kamala Harris be an asset or a liability to America's criminal enterprise? Them they are the question when me have. Them they are the question when me have. Me want to know, are we really suggesting that Kamala Harris would have been and presented a reforming of the American criminal enterprise? Is that what we are? And where, if we are suggesting that, where would we get that analysis from? Where would we derive such a sense of hope? Yeah, from me no know. That me want to know. All right.
When they did what they did to indigenous people and brought us into it. And as Du Bois said in the Suppression of the African Slave Trade to the United States, he said, until you deal with that, you're going to keep having to come back to it. We've always had a parallel structure for planning what was in our best interest, but we always wanted to include everyone else in terms of what we were advocating for, whether it be black people creating public education in the South during Reconstruction. We always wanted to make everybody else benefit as well. I don't think we need to stop doing that, but I do think we have to circle the wagons to protect ourselves. As I said in 1972 in Gary, when we came together and said we want a black political party, exactly what you said, we said that this is going to benefit everyone, but we've got to focus on ourselves first. By then, Kamala Harris wasn't even 10 years old. She literally exists because two people came from decolonizing countries with an idea of getting education and going back to change the world. Her mother to just cure breast cancer, her father to with an idea of getting education and going back to change the world.
So I don't know here if he's likening the fact that they came from decolonizing countries to Kamala Harris's politics. Does the fact that her parents came from decolonizing countries, yes, mean that Kamala Harris herself has a decolonizing political program? That's the question that we have to ask. All right? Especially in light of what he goes on to say after this.
Mother to just cure breast cancer, her father to reconstruct the economy of Jamaica. And that's why she exists. I don't question her motives. I don't question her existence. She chose Howard over Stanford, where her sister went and her daddy was on faculty. And I think that made all the difference. And tonight, if it bears out that she doesn't win this presidency, tonight she is facing the fact that this country could give a damn about the vision that she articulated, because for them, patriotism means white supremacy.
Absolutely.
So was it any less white supremacy, the patriotism, if people vote for Kamala Harris? And like, you know, and there's a significant. Hold on there, let me rewind this little piece.
And that's why she exists. I don't question her motives. I don't question her existence. She chose Howard over Stanford, where her sister went and her daddy was on faculty. And I think that made all the difference. And tonight.
So you don't question her motives. You don't question her intentions. You don't question her. And the example that we give is because she went to Howard University, a historically black college, as opposed to Stanford. And that made all the difference. All the difference in what? Yeah, these are the questions that I have. Because it seems as though Kamala Harris's politics and her policies are being put forward as something good. Her vision for the country is not being what vision? And where, if we link it to the previous statements, do we get the impression that her vision is connected to the decolonial nature of the countries that her parents came from at the time that they migrated to America? Where we get that analysis from? I don't understand, brothers and sisters. This is what I'm saying. Me no overstand. Me say me no overstand. There is nothing that Kamala Harris said in the entirety of her just over 100 days of campaigning that would lead I to believe that she has a significant decolonial bone in her political body. I haven't heard it now or for when she ran the previous time. Me not hear it yet. So I want to know what Mwalimu Carr has heard or anybody else has heard that me not hear yet. Yeah, let's just finish this thing.
If it bears out that she doesn't win this presidency, tonight she is facing the fact that this country could give a damn about the vision that she articulated, because for them, patriotism means white supremacy.
Absolutely.
And for us, it has always meant that that is our enemy. And I think we need to take heed of that and look forward and say everything everyone has said needs to be poured into our blackness and into our institutional formations. And we move forward to see what happens.
Now, what I'm about to say, yeah, may not be what Professor Carr is saying, but it could lend itself to this interpretation. Okay, If Kamala Harris had won, would we not still have to invest in our own institutions and our own blackness? Would it lessen the degree to which that becomes a necessity? Because it seems to be the case that a lot of people are arguing that now black people need to come together and stay strong and organize and because of the fact that white America voted, I don't say overwhelmingly, but significantly for Donald Trump. So would that now mean the reverse, the natural conclusion on the reverse side of that equation is that had Kamala Harris won, we can relax. Yeah, we don't need to invest in so much blackness and black institution again. Yeah, these are problematic statements, brothers and sisters. In my humble estimation. And I'm saying that as somebody operating in a black media space, what is the value of us as black people in media if we can't criticize blatant Western Empire? I'm not talk about, you know what I mean? Everybody have to be deep in a Garvey and deep in a Sankara and gone deep in a Malcolm and gone deep in a Mama Marimba, yeah, and gone deep in a Amos Wilson and gone deep in a Mama Namza Mama Likizela Winnie Mandela, yeah. Me nah say that, me nah say that, me nah say everybody have to take the Asata Shakur route. Yeah. I'm just talking about basic speaking truth to power. Basic. That's all me I talk about. And that's it. That's all me I talk about. Yeah. So that's the conclusion of what I was supposed to have shared yesterday. I neglected to do so yesterday, so I thought let me do that right about now.